Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today, well, thank you for joining us with Blessed with Bray. I think that's the name we're going to go with. This is episode 1. I feel super grateful because I get to speak to someone that I think is such a special human. She is a queen, radiating with strength and beauty everywhere she goes. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. She's one of the most insightful, intelligent people that I have ever met. And we are privileged today that she has sat down with me to have a conversation to where she can share some of her wisdom and insights that she has experienced through her life. So without further ado, let's give a round of applause for Miss Allie Holcomb, and the crowd goes crazy.
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone can be seated. Thank
Yeah,
you
please
for
be
the,
seated. Please be seated.
the
Super
introduction.
humble, this one.
No, but actually, I'm so happy to be here, and I do like Blessed with Bray. I think that's a great
You
name.
like that one?
I mean, what other names were you?
I only, it's the first one that came up. So it's like,
That's
yeah,
meant to be.
I think it
Okay.
was meant to be.
I like Blessed with Bray. That's good. Yeah. I'm so excited to be here. So
Yeah,
excited to chat. We've been having
cool.
a lot of good conversations, so it
We
made sense
have.
to record it.
I agree. And good conversations that we feel a lot of people could potentially glean some things, learn some things, and take away some things. And that's kind of the key of the conversations that I like to have with people are generally more deeper and more insightful. And I think if that allows other people to take away from those, that's beautiful. I would like to warm you up a little bit first. I want to ask a couple questions. 2 questions. The first one, in the last 6 months, what is something that you're just really proud of yourself for? And then in the next 6 months, what is the thing that you're most excited about?
Yeah. Ooh, those are good questions. The first, what I'm most proud of, obviously we'll probably dive into this a little bit more, but as you know, I have been on a very unique journey the past like 9 months or so, 10 months given. I would say the thing that I'm most proud of is that I have moved into a very selfish chapter of my life where I decided that I wanted to put my happiness first, and that's something that I've struggled with my entire life is I'm very much so someone who always wants to make sure everyone else around me is comforted and happy and feel supported, and I think that led to me putting myself on the back burner a lot. So this past year, this whole journey that I've been on has been about what does Allie need, what does Allie want, and really becoming like the fullest version of myself, the best version of myself. I'm a big believer that you can't pour from, an empty jug, I guess is the word we'll go with. And if I want to be the best version of myself to other people and I want to be able to give to them and transform their lives and, make positive impacts on people and everyone that I meet, I have to make sure that I'm at 100% most of the time, not always, because that's, not possible. But yeah, just being selfish with my time, being selfish with my decisions, being selfish with who I surround myself with, and just truthfully like asking myself every morning, every night, are you making the decisions that you're making for you? Is Allie happy? And it's been an incredible journey. What I'm looking most forward to, I the last few years, like obviously everyone knows we had COVID and that kind of stopped a lot of things. And I think I put traveling and making memories kind of put this on the back burner as well. And the past few months, I have kind of a group of friends who are all down to like move around, make memories. Like we all have this thing that we're all kind of focused on right now, which is just being ultimately like happy and just no agenda but traveling together and making memories. And I think I'm just most excited for like the travels that I have upcoming, the trips that I have upcoming, and making memories with those that mean the most to me.
Love it. Collecting moments, not things.
Yes,
That was the
absolutely.
first thing that was said to me from Jason, the owner of Squatch, when I got back from my trip, and he saw how much I'd changed and how I was inspired to create more of that in my life. Obviously, I can't travel every single day of my life. I gotta work, but I wanna work as little as possible, and if I can work hard in moments so I can work as little as possible in the future and sprinkle in some trips along the way, like, I think that's a recipe. But thank you for sharing what you're grateful about. I've seen it from afar, and we've had conversations around it, and it's been a beautiful thing to see how you have evolved as a human, as a woman, as a communicator, as a lover, all the things above, and I'm sure it's been an exciting journey. I know we both had a similar in terms of this is new territory for us, and to contextualize this, Allie was in a 10-year relationship with someone that you're also the only person you had ever been with, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So only person you've ever been with, and now that relationship is over and we're exploring new waters. And I imagine that came with a lot of fears, but there became a moment where you felt like a change needed to be met. And I would love to kind of tap into that scenario because a lot of people could be in similar shoes where I think as human beings we get very comfortable even when we're uncomfortable in certain scenarios because we're more scared of the potential change that could occur versus the greatness that could happen once we like realize that something isn't serving us currently. So I'm be curious to hear some insights in terms of the courage you had to make a decision for someone that you love and have been with for so long to decide to take that step away from that relationship to open your world to something new, to invite more expansion into your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, I should preface that my ex is an amazing person. I still have all the respect and love for him in the world. I think that a part of me will always love him. When you grow up with someone, which to give context, yes, we did date for 10 years from 16 to 26 for me, and for him it was 18 to 28 years old. And when you spend that much time of your life with someone, you obviously don't think that it's going to ever come to an end, but if it does, you hope that you're able to view that relationship and that decade in a beautiful sense, right? Like we grew up together, we moved around the country together, we've spent so many memories together. You know, he really did become my best friend, he became my family, and I will always have love for him. But to your point, we just kind of fell out of love. Or, I've even pondered the idea of were we ever really in love? When you start dating at such a young age, we don't a lot of us don't have the actual idea of what healthy love looks like, and we were best friends and we had great time together, and there was a great friendship there was a great bond there, but we were so young. We didn't know how to respectfully have a relationship, and we didn't know how to like have respectful and healthy boundaries and healthy and respectful separation, and to navigate an adult relationship the way that we probably should at our age. And I think that it just kind of came down to we both realized like we have a great friendship, but even that we are starting to have a resentment toward one another because we're trying to make a friendship into a relationship that's not there anymore. And it was a really hard conversation to have. Obviously, like you said, you brought up comfort. I grew up in a town, or I should say just, grew up with friends and family in general where like you once you figured out your path in life, who your person is, like that's that. There's no changing it, right? There's no backing out of it. And I do agree with that in some sense. Like I do think that really healthy relationships, like in the end, like you are making a commitment to someone for better or for worse. But I think there's always context. Nothing is black and white when it comes to relationships. And I just knew that if him and I had stayed together for another 20, 30 years, we would have still had a beautiful life. Like we were great friends, and we still had fun together, we still laughed and we still had great memories, and there would have been more to come, but we weren't in love. And I think that life is too short to not have that spark, if you will.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kind of a hopeless romantic. So, like that passion, and that's what I was craving and that's what I wanted on one end. But on the other side of that, again, I had been with this person since I was 16 years old. So you think about that. I was in high school, I lived with my mom and my family, and I graduated and I had roommates and I was in college, and then I moved in with my boyfriend, and then we moved around together, and I've just never really been alone. Like Allie has never just sat with Allie, woke up with Allie, went to bed with
Who is
Allie.
Allie Holcomb?
Who is Allie? Like, and you get into patterns, you get into habits whenever you're with someone, even if for 6 months, you just get into habits, you pick up their routines. And so I started to have questions like, do I do this in the morning because it's what I want to do? Or do I
Mm.
do it because that's part of our routine? Do I do this in the evening because that's what I really want to do? Or is that just part of our routine? And I just had so many questions about who I was, if I could handle situations on my own. And again, this is a little bit of like a piece of backstory that is really important. My mom recently got out of a 20+ year marriage. And during that entire time growing up and watching my mom in that marriage, like she didn't really have a say so. She really lost herself as a woman and just as an individual in general. And she was a stay-at-home mom for me my entire life growing up. She had me at 21 years old, and she's been a stay-at-home mom since. And she didn't really know when she came out of the marriage how to like fend for herself, how to take care of herself, how to financially support herself. She had relied on one person for everything. And I think that I also had a fear piece come in where I was like, I want to make sure that I can always take care of me if I need to, and that I know how to do so. And in order to figure that out, or in order to prove that to myself, I need to be alone. And again, there's a beautiful piece of that, right? Like the independency. I have been known to be a little hyper independent in situations, and I think you and I have actually discussed like masculine feminine energy before, and there's a borderline where if you're too independent, you can start to dip very heavily into that masculine energy. But I've been trying to create a really healthy balance with it because I do want to have a partner that I can rely on for things and that I have like a great love with one day and we're, equals with one another. But at the same time, I also want to be able to prove to myself that I don't need anybody at the same time. So this is really
Yeah.
healthy balance that I've just been kind of figuring out over the last few months while also navigating a friendship with my ex and figuring out a new norm for me and what that looks like because in this day and age and at my age at 27, I don't think that most people know how to properly navigate breakups and I'm not an expert by any means, but I think I've done a pretty good job of maintaining a respectful friendship with that person and there's still being love present there. So yeah, it's been a journey for sure.
Thank you for sharing. There's so much to dissect there. I just want to overview a little bit. A couple of things that you said that stuck with me. A lot of it stuck with me, but three specific things. One is I think older generations have this idea is like I believe marriage is very precious and very precious. I'll use that word. And that when you commit to someone, that you're committing that to someone. But we evolve as humans, and our wants and desires evolve. And to say that this pressure that you are gonna be with this person for the rest of your life is a big reason why divorces and all these things start happening because we think that we can't have anything else. And it's like and the other thing you said that, okay, you've been with someone since you were 16. Now you're starting to evolve to be more like this human being because you haven't taken the time to be by yourself at a young age when you are supposed to be growing and evolving and learning about who you are and what your desires are and what you want, but you never had the space and the capacity to be able to do that. And then given the context of being in a relationship for that long as well is like it's not moving in the right direction. The spark's not there anymore. It's too hard. Like there's not enough therapy and things in the world that are going to allow you to recreate what you want because you have to separate. I compare my own depression journey and like living in Indiana and like not having the things that I wanted seen and met and my desires that I could, and the opportunities that I want. I had to separate that environment so I could find and expand and look to new lights. And I think it's very challenging for a lot of people. I think it's very challenging for a lot of people to again with the I say comfort because there's this fear of not being loved, and especially from a woman's perspective when and you mentioned your mom is like this is security. Like if we make it black and white, like women find a husband for security, right? They provide a home and a job and like we're not tapping into the independent side and I completely agree with you, but I think traditionally that was the viewpoint and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be with this person and I think it's sad that it's not sad. I'm happy to see that evolution of relationships and like traditional relationships is evolving to allow a more where a relationship where both people are being seen and met and not at the same time. I think our generation is seeing that we are leaving space to decide that we want something different. And there's the expectation of like this needs to go a certain route is not healthy and be able to have that healthy conversation like, hey, this is how I'm feeling today. You spoke that with Corey. We were like, this conversation needs to happen. It was a tough conversation, but people push off that tough conversation and they push it off again and they push it off again. And it's eaten up inside to where it builds that resentment, which at some capacity, that's what happened with y'all too. And then finally, you guys had the courage to dive into that. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
security and comfort is a big part of it, right? I've never lived on my own. So whenever I was like, wow, I'm going to have a conversation with my boyfriend about wanting to break up, that I'm going to have to be on my own and figure things out. Like I've just never done that. And I think that a lot of us would rather live a lackluster life or have a lackluster relationship as long as we have security and as long as we have that comfort zone. For me, I find desire and becoming uncomfortable because I know how much growth is on the other side of it. And I really do think that life is so short and I would rather push myself to grow and to challenge myself in a number of ways. And I just think that this was something that, we'd always talked about it. Like we started dating at a really young age. We had really healthy, mature conversations. And there was always a topic that would come up of like, there might be a day that comes where we say like, hey, we never really had many experiences because we, to your point, we're spending these like adolescent years where we should have been figuring ourselves out and growing and meeting new people and having new experiences. We were doing so, but we were doing so together. And So yeah, it was a really interesting time, and again, just how that conversation happened, the thoughts leading up to it, what's happened since then. The entire journey has just I feel like I've experienced more life, more lessons, more growth in the last 9, 10 months of my life than I have in my entire life. And I've been in this really cool place right now where I've done a lot of healing and a lot of growing, but I obviously we all still have our inner work to do and we do still have our inner child. And so I'm faced with situations and I have been faced with situations with new people and with my ex and other scenarios as well that I find this new like mature, like grown 27-year-old Allie who wants to, like, step up and answer it or handle it in one way, and then I do still have my inner child who also wants to handle it in another way. And so it's been this really beautiful journey of, like, balancing, and recognizing
Understanding yourself.
yeah, understanding myself, understanding my bad habits, understanding, things that I've done, and I think that the breakup allowed me to view myself in a new light. There was a lot of situations and things that I let go of from the past and that I was able to grow from, and I don't think it would have been possible if we had stayed together, and I think it's really hard to view yourself and review yourself whenever you're still in that current state.
Yep.
So now I'm able to look back at our relationship and look at how certain situations played out, how I responded, how he responded, and just learn from it and grow from it. But you can't do that if you're still in that
Gotta
position. It's a very
separate.
hard thing to do.
Yeah.
So,
Which is scary, and I applaud you. I think, yeah, it gets back to it's not even just for relationships. Once you separate yourself from energy that is potentially weighing you down, you give growth to expansion, as you said, more life. And I'm happy that you're having more life. I would love to, because I'm sure you have learned so much over this since this breakup in terms of navigating, as you alluded to, navigating these new waters and learning about yourself. I'm curious about what that path has been like since like early on post breakup, diving into this dating to now in terms of specifically focusing on you and your own happiness, as you said, versus someone else's happiness. And obviously in dating, we're dealing with two people here. And I just want to give some, yeah, just share your insights in terms of like how that has been and what has been like your biggest learning experience.
yeah, I mean, I think the well, okay. So starting with dating, like I said, I'm no professional because I haven't done much of that since our breakup. I think a lot of people thought that the biggest reason I was wanting to leave my relationship is because I had this desire to be single. And that definitely was part of it, of course. But it was really a lot of it was about me. And that's really what this like post breakup healing journey and learning journey has really been about is just figuring out like how I communicate as like an adult in today's world and society and how I navigate situations and my reactions toward them. I realized that with my ex, because we started dating at such a young age, I had a lot of possessiveness over him, and I didn't realize how unhealthy and how toxic that was because I didn't have anyone to learn from. My parents have both been divorced, and I didn't have like a great example to learn from. So I that's been a big thing, just like how I view situations and how I how I navigate them, I guess. So I think the biggest thing is just you going into dating, going into a new relationship and exploring that, you can never go into that thinking that you're going to find someone to complete you or find your better half or find someone that is going to change your world. Yes, in sub capacity, when we start, interacting with someone new, they bring along their habits and their friendships and what they like to do for fun, their passions, their hobbies, their day to day life. And you do pick up things from them, and that can be really healthy. It can also be really negative. But I think the biggest thing is you have to be whole. You have to be a whole person in order to have healthy relationships and to be able to date healthy. At least that's the experience that I've had, and that's what I believe. I'm never going to look for a man to complete me. I want to find someone that can be an addition to my life, be an addition to the happiness that I've already created for myself, be an addition to the safety and the security that I've already created for myself in so many capacities, again, just like safety in general, feeling safe from like a financial perspective, from a religious perspective, or just from in all areas. I want someone that's going to be an added benefit to my life, not someone that I need to complete me in order to do so. That's the biggest takeaway that I have realized. And I've been able to, view that in friends, view that in people that I've met. And I can very easily tell when someone is incomplete or complete, I guess is what I should say. And that's no, there's no judgment there because I don't think we're ever fully like have it figured out. We're always learning, evolving, and
For sure.
growing. But at the end of the day, are you making, the decisions that you're making for you? Or are you making them for the person that you're entertaining at that point in time? And I think that communication has been a really big thing for me that I've learned and that I love to speak to people about because communicating with my ex of 10 years and we live together looks vastly different than communicating with, someone that I might start hanging out with. And I've had to adjust to that and also look at what I think healthy communication looks like in dating in 2023 because, we have so much access to social media and we're on our phones all day long. And what does that look like? When me and my ex first started dating, we were in high school, like we would text in between periods or like after school, whatever. And then we lived together and obviously you're communicating in person all day long and you're not really texting that person anymore. And then whenever we would travel, like I never wanted to be on my phone because it was like a break. It was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
break from the
yeah.
person, it was a break from being home. And I don't say that in a negative light. I think that healthy separation in any relationship is great. But anyways, looking at, how you communicate with someone that you're dating in today's day and age and what that looks like is also like been a very big lesson and what I think that is healthy or unhealthy.
No, I love that. Not don't look for someone to complete you. Like, you need to come into that and that kinda gets back to which is challenging in today's culture of, like, dating at a young age and, like, marrying your high school sweetheart, like, you haven't found yourself yet. So, you're not gonna be able to find yourself until you take that time to learn about yourself, and that's what the journey you've been on for the past 6 to 7 months or whatever, I don't know how long exactly, but something you said, like, you mentioned in terms of a potential dating partner, like, they wanna elevate you in these certain areas. I think the 4 areas that come to mind for me is, like, you mentioned spirituals, like, spiritual health. Like, am I connected to them in this area? Emotional health. Can I emotionally connect to this human being, communicate with this physical health? Do they take care of themselves? Are they healthy? Mental health. Are they challenging me? I know that's something that I've been drawn to. I think there's an element of like dating people who you're similar with that can elevate you, but also people who challenge you to be better. Is there something that have you noticed that with the people that you're drawn to?
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, they shy away from that because a lot of us don't want to grow. We don't want to be uncomfortable,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
We do not want to be with someone that is going to be a direct reflection of us in a healthy light and help us grow because a lot of us, it's an ego thing, but it's also a fear thing. I like that you chose those 4 categories because those are the 4 that obviously I focus on as well. So spiritual, I know that not everyone is religious, but a lot of people are spiritual, yes, in many different lights. For me, I grew up like a Christian. I grew up in the church, and that's something that I got away from in college. And my ex, not that he's not religious or that he has anything against like going to church, this wasn't a big thing that we ever prioritized in our relationship. And it is something I've gotten back into church now that I've been in Austin. And I found an amazing church family at Red Rocks, and I love the group of people that I spend time with there.
Shout
And
out Red Rocks.
shout out Red Rocks. And that is just something that is so important to me. It's an absolute non-negotiable. And that's another thing we can dive into is I think when it comes to dating and relationships, there's negotiables and non-negotiables. And that's been a really interesting journey to look at too, because as someone who's a little spicy, I've always, everything's a non-negotiable. But no, I've really like, created a healthy balance with that as well. But yeah, the religious part of it, I know that I want my next partner to be religious. That's something that is very important to me when thinking, long term, having a family, having children one day. That is something that I still value and that I want. I know that that's something that I'm looking for. And so, and I know people have different viewpoints about this, but for me, if I'm going to date someone and they,
Real quick, what is yeah, can you define religious? Like, say for give someone like me, for example, I am curious about religion. I didn't grow up around it. I am agnostic. I do believe in a higher power. But when you say like someone like you want, hey, our kids, our family, we're going to church every Sunday.
yeah, exactly. And so religious in the sense that like I get there's a lot of people, we live in a world where a lot of people have either lost touch with like religion, how whatever religion they grew up, like or they have questions and they're interested in that, as well as people who just aren't religious at all. They don't believe in a higher power. They don't want anything with that. For me, I do believe in God, and like religion is something that's very important to me. It's a journey that, like I said, I've picked back up and that I do want to be in my family in one day, and I do want to raise my kids in a church, and I want to have a husband. We do go to church on Sundays, That is an idea, like the ideal Sunday for me, or the ideal, family attribute. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where like I'm at an age where I'm looking at characteristics and values of people that I would potentially want to settle down with. Now, I think people take things to like severe extremes. I'm not saying that I would never go on a date with someone unless I thought that they were a potential husband. No, like that's how you get to know people, of course. But that is something that I'm keeping in mind if I'm on a date with somebody and they're like, yeah, like I'm not religious. I have no desire to ever be, step foot in a church. I don't want my kids to be raised in a church. It's just something that I'm, compartmentalizing and thinking like, okay, there could be some issues there. But to your point, like if someone tells me like, oh yeah, like I have a lot of questions and, whatever. And I say like, well, cool, would you love to come to church with me? Or would you like to come to church with me and start learning? Like, I think that that's a journey you can definitely explore. So yes, that is definitely one of 4 things that I'm looking for. The second, I think you said physical health. Again, yes, we live in a world where like you have to be, really careful about what you say, but I'll just come out and say it, like physical health and like being interested in wellness and that being something that's important to someone is a non-negotiable for me. I value my health a lot and I want to be with someone who also values their health. And if we're going to be committing to each other at some point down the road, like I want to make sure that we're living, a long, happy life together, not not me living to be like 80 and
For sure.
they're off like 50. So yes, that one's very important to me. The mental health, yeah, definitely. I want people that are challenging me. I have a little bit of ego. I'm like not afraid to admit that. And I do like people to challenge me both in like beliefs, thoughts, actions, every single day. I constantly, and there's a healthy balance with that, like with everything. I don't want someone being disrespectful and being like, hey, like you're an idiot about that.
For
Like,
sure.
but I do
Well,
want
they're
someone
being
that,
egotistical at that point,
yeah,
so it's
I want someone that says like, hey, like, like let's talk about this, or like I think that you could have handled the situation better, or I
for
think
sure.
that you're viewing this situation the wrong way, you're taking it the wrong way. Like I want to talk to you about this. Definitely. I want someone that is going to be a reflection or like a mirror of me and help me continue to evolve and become the best version of me in all of the areas. Same thing, like we go back to physical health, right? Like I really do want a partner that like if for whatever reason, like I start to fall off one day and I start to put my health to the side, I want someone that'll call me out and be like, this is something that was really important to you when we started dating. I noticed that like, you're working out way less, you don't care so much about this or that. Like what's going on? Where's your headspace at? And helps me get back on track. I think that
Yep.
that's really valuable asset in a partner.
And it's
Um,
showing that they care in
they
all 4 of those
care.
categories. They're like, "Oh, I'm noticing this thing about you that you said that you are about, and you've fallen off. So, like, how can we get back on?"
Yeah. And the last one you mentioned, the emotional,
Arguably the most important one.
most important one for sure. I feel like you can tell a lot by if you start dating someone and you feel uncomfortable like expressing your needs or expressing your wants. And I should preface this as someone who I've struggled with vulnerability my entire life. And it's an ego issue. It's a masculinity issue energy wise because from the time that I've been a child, like I've always been in my defense, I feel like, and I've always had to be in my masculine energy a little bit. So it's very hard for me to be vulnerable with people because I'm letting them have the ability to hurt me. And I don't want anyone to have the power to do that. And I also want you to know that like you don't have the power to do that when
Yeah.
you really do. So vulnerability is a big thing. But the emotional part of it is like, if I'm going to be vulnerable with you, how are you respecting me and my emotions whenever I do so? Because I've had situations where I have been vulnerable and I felt like I got no response or the response that was reciprocated was very like kind of like almost shut me down. And that makes me want to go back into my shell and put my cold heart back up and my wall and not let you back in. So feeling safe and being able to be emotionally
Same.
vulnerable, feeling safe with someone, being able to be emotionally vulnerable and that word safe can be from a physical presence, but mostly an emotional presence. So yeah.
Love it. I want to, shed the light on the word challenge real quick. I think challenge and challenging people is, for lack of a better word, triggering for a lot of people and can take it into a negative context. I think challenging is beautiful. I think we develop belief systems from our environments at a young age, from a unsupportive of actually what we actually believe in, and we don't know anything better. And we become so innate into our thinking that we don't know anything better until someone from our outside perspective can see our own actions and coming from a place of love challenge us. So like for me, from friends to future dating partners, like where you at? Like I'm trying to find as many people as possible because we want to be the best version of ourselves. And in order to do that, we need coaches, friends, other people who can see our blind spots to allow us to be the person that we're supposed to be.
Yeah, it
Uh,
comes down to respect. You can challenge me respectfully or you can challenge me disrespectfully. I'm going to respond better to one. I may not respond to the other at all, right? But I definitely invite challenging for sure. And you should know if I'm dating you, I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah,
Like that is something that I definitely believe in for sure.
love it, love it. I'm curious because you, to me, are a very confident woman. I think dating for a lot of people is very fearful. There's a phrase called dating fearlessly, and I'm learning to step into that. I think you mentioned something earlier. I want to highlight too. You said you're taking this journey as a personal growth journey. I completely agree. Like I feel super confident in the fitness space and competing. Like there's nothing that really scares me. Women is like the last hurdle. So these conversations I'm having lately, I'm like, yo, it's just another opportunity to grow. Let's go. But I'm curious, you diving into this dating world, like if anxiety came up and like, how did you navigate that? How did how did you learn over time to be more confident?
Yes. I would say the confidence just has come with the self-love. And this is such a weird parallel, being in a relationship for 10 years with one person who has committed to me and like I know is committed to me in all the things. I felt less confident then. This has nothing to do with him and everything to do with me. I am the most confident that I have ever been in my entire life. Now, granted, you'll hear me sit in front of a mirror and be like, "Oh my gosh, like my hair looks bad today," or whatever. Like
You
it's
should have seen it before the
always.
podcast. I was like, girl,
I know, we just got out of the
look
sauna.
at it
I'm
right
looking a
now.
little
Come
crazy.
on.
We all go through that, right? And we're all gonna always pick ourselves apart in a healthy context. But I am the most confident that I've ever been, and it's literally just come from loving myself to the point where it's made me so confident that like I I just like I don't feel like I need to have the conversation with a guy like, you better not disrespect me or you better not do this and like feel like I have to like let them know like I'll walk away or I'll leave because I'm just like it's your loss. It is your loss and I mean that respectfully. I know what I bring to the table and we live in a world where there are so many beautiful people. Oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful people. And we live in the fitness and we work in the fitness industry, right? We live in Austin,
It's not
Texas. Like
fair.
there's so many attractive men, there's so many attractive women, but if I connect with you and we develop a real connection and you leave that because someone with bigger boobs or a bigger social media following or, whatever, who like looks the part much better comes along, like that's your loss. Like we live in a world where there's so much beauty and there's so much to look at, but most of us are walking around with like we don't have real connections with real intimacy with people. And so I had no issues with confidence when I started dating whatsoever. I've had conversations with, someone where I've mentioned that to them, like, hey, like, you have access to a lot of really beautiful people, and that's great. And I don't blame you if you end up wanting to have options and if you end up wanting to like, navigate, you know, all those beautiful people. Like no one can really blame you, right? But just know that like I won't be an option for you. I won't be an option for anyone. Respectfully.
Because you respect
I
yourself.
respect myself. I
Yeah.
know what I bring to the table. I know what I bring to the table as a partner. I know what I bring to the table as a friend. I know that I challenge people, the accountability that I have, the love that I have, and I won't be an option for someone.
But you are human and we have human moments. So I'm curious, when you have those human moments, what is that thing that brings you back to like, nah, like I know my value, I know my worth, I have so much love for myself. And maybe you're indestructible and you don't have any of these things, but I'm sure you've had your moments of like doubt, scarcity mindset that comes up when you have been potentially hurting or your ego has been hurt. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, honestly, I definitely am human. I am not like indestructible by any means. I've had a couple moments where I felt hurt in like a situation since I've been single, and I felt what's a good word? Maybe like someone else like been chosen over me or a situation or something like that. And yeah, like again, it definitely hurts your ego a little bit. Your feelings are a little bothered by it, but I have just put in the work to really like I sit down with myself and I'm like get it together. You know who you are. Like think about
And this is you talking
this
to
is
the
me talking to
mirror.
myself. Me talking to the mirror, this is me talking to myself. I'm sitting there, I'm pointing and it's just like I think it comes back to knowing who you are and by that I mean every single day I work really hard to make a positive impact on people. And I try to make people feel really good about themselves. I try to, have really good experiences, really good like connections with humans. And since I've moved to Austin, I've developed so many relationships. And I constantly have people reminding me of like, and has nothing to do with like it doesn't make me feel conceited by any means or cocky. It's a confidence thing. I constantly have people saying to me, like, you're such an amazing personality, like you make me feel good or you make me feel better about myself or I have such a good time when I'm with you and I realize like this has nothing to do with like I'm not even talking about physical attributes or looks or anything. It's like I know what I bring to the table to those that I love and I care about, like how I make them feel about themselves and the experiences that I provide them. And so if someone is going to choose someone else over me, or someone is going to leave me because, the grass looks greener on the other side, or something like that happens, and this may come across a little cocky. It's almost like I dare you, like, go for it. Like I really do believe like what I bring is unmatched. And I feel like
That
everyone should believe
everyone should
that.
have that, yep.
Everyone should have that mindset because again, like I said, there's so many beautiful girls. There could be 5 other girls in this room right now, and every single one of us has different values that we bring to the table and different strengths, different weaknesses. But what makes us all so unique is that there's only one me. Like, there is only one me,
Yep,
respectfully. And there's only one respectfully her, and
yep.
there's only one her.
Incomparable Allie Holcomb.
Yeah, there's everyone is just their own person. You are uniquely you. And when I grew up, people always said that, and I never really listened to it, but I really do believe that now. Like, I am me. I know what I bring to the table, and there's only one of me. That's the beauty of it. And if someone chooses to let that go, and it's not even, it's not even talking badly about them. If they just say like, "Hey, I don't think you're my person," that's totally fine. I really do view it's not like a loss of the relationship. I think it's a like, you know, like you lost me. Like that's, it is what it is. It
Yeah.
really is. But it's self-talk. It's self-love. That's where it
It's
stems
a love
from.
routine.
You
Like,
can't expect someone else to love you if you don't love yourself. You can't expect someone to respect you the way that you deserve if you don't respect yourself the way you deserve.
and you can teach people how to love you
Yeah.
as well. I think that the big thing is, like, obviously confidence is a very powerful superpower. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And it really comes down to is like, what is that love routine you have with yourself? What is that credibility with that you have with yourself? And there's so many different ways, so many routes to go down to build that within you. That's why I love fitness. Fitness is a great way to like, hey, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this consistently. And then once I do that, like, oh wow, I can do this. Like I gain some credibility with myself. It's the same thing with dating and like and voicing yourself and like expressing yourself. And this is what I want. This is what I don't want, which may be scary at first. And once you do it, it's like, oh, this feels good. I can communicate myself in this way and be confident in this way. And again, a lot of people just have a lot of fear around that. I think I want to talk about, we had this conversation a while back about the one. You mentioned the one. If you're going to a relationship and you're looking for the one, it's I potentially not a good recipe. I have also evolved my thinking, and it just kind of coincides with what I was saying earlier in terms of how culture and traditional marriages has put this pressure of like finding the one, and which is also probably pushing a lot of people away from enjoying life now to like seeking the one to be with for the rest of their life. They're not enjoying life. So there's different chapters, and I feel that there's ones for different chapters of that life. And I think that's where my current viewpoint is, and I'm navigating those waters. And I feel like you have a similar or a similar journey that you're going on. And I think we as humans have certain desires, sexual being one of them, that want to be met. And I think communicating that and having healthy conversations around this is what I'm currently at right now. I would love to hear your perspective because I know that you are in a place where you are more focused on you and your happiness, but there is a layer of that happiness that is intimacy. And I'm curious how you as a woman communicate that with a potential mate, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Well, so two parts, like you mentioned the one. And to your point, I respectfully believe that there could be so many ones for you, right? It really ultimately comes down to where you're at in your life and where that potential person is at in their life. Because there could be 20 people that the physical connection is there, the emotional connection is there. We get along in this area, this is matched, this is aligned. But like, they may not be looking for a partner right now, and I might be. And it's literally could be a mismatch of time, or vice versa.
Yes.
Or someone could be looking for a relationship, but they haven't done the work to heal from their past relationship, so they can't give you what you need in a relationship, like boundaries and things like that. Right now, maybe they could in 5 years, right? And that's like the beauty of life is that there are so many potential ones for you. Ultimately, it comes down to who you choose and who you choose to commit to and make things work with. Because no relationship, even if you did find the one, that's not like just like smiles, sunshine, and roses from there.
Has to be
Every
work.
relationship has so much work that has to be done. You're gonna find issues that arise. No matter how perfect you are, how perfect they are, situations will arise. Do you know how to navigate through those? And have you decided to fully commit to this person that no matter how hard it gets, context, of course, there are certain situations you absolutely should get out of it, but no matter how hard it gets, that you guys have committed to figure it out together, figure out life together. That's what you have to ask yourself. So that's my viewpoint on that. Now, the intimacy part, this is a really interesting conversation. And I've done a lot of work around this, and I'll explain to you where like I'm kind of currently at and what is serving me, as well as my mindset, or I guess my advice to someone who's maybe not in my situation. So, bringing it back to the intimacy like topic, I definitely think intimacy is so important in a relationship, right? I don't think it's everything, but I definitely think it's a very important part of the relationship. And I do think that you need to have passion, you need to have romance in order to keep that spark alive, if you will, amongst other things. But I am someone who my entire life, I've always been, I don't know if like hypersexualized is the word. I've always looked older than my age. Like even from a young age, I always had like, like if I was in junior, I had guys that were like juniors and seniors hitting on me and things like that. And so from a really young age, I was always getting a lot of male attention and there was a lot of male energy being put toward me. And so subconsciously, what I did is I started validating myself, my worth through men and through the attention that I got from them, to the point where, like, if I went somewhere and, like, I met a guy and he didn't try to flirt with me or hit on me, I was so used to that that I would then be like, "Well, what's wrong with me?" Like, I literally looked for that validation. And I so that's part of it. And then the other part is that I think just again, in the world we live in, like, I think that depending on I mean, it could go either way, depending on who you are. Some people make sex like, the most important part of the relationship. Some people make it like it's not that important at all. I think there's like, again, healthy balance with everything in a relationship. Healthy balance. If we take one thing away today, it's healthy balance, right? I so I'm currently on a journey of not avoiding intimacy, not avoiding it whatsoever, but learning how to love someone kind of like with maybe without that in the picture. And what does it mean to connect with someone if it's not in the picture, right? Because we're all young, and I think, and this is just natural human behavior, is that that's the first thing we look for with someone, the physical attraction and the sexual connection with them. And if that's good, I think we honestly kind of start to overlook like potential other areas of
Yep.
concern. So it's one of those things where, you can be having sex with someone and it can be amazing, but maybe they're not like emotionally meeting your needs, or they're not challenging you mentally, but you're like, "Hey, but the sex is
Yep.
great, like, this
Yep.
person could be the one," and you're like, but
You
really,
let all the red flags in.
you let all the red flags in. And again, we go back to the point, there's so many beautiful humans in this world, you can be physically attracted to a lot of people. So, the journey that I've kind of been on as of recent is taking that out of the picture entirely, and is the person that I'm spending my time with, is it someone that I wanna be around them because I wanna be around them, or do I
Right.
wanna be around them because I can't wait to have sex with them?
Yeah.
Do I wanna be around them, or do I wanna talk to them because I actually wanna know what's going on in their day, or how they're doing, or what's going on with their friends, family, life, whatever? Or am I talking to them because I can't wait to flirt with them? It's like, for me, it's figuring out, like, is there actual substance there, or is it just physical attraction? And that's been working phenomenally for me as someone who, again, has always validated theirself, like, through male attention. And this, again, just kind of small blooper. I don't have the best relationship with my father. I never have. He was out of my life for, like, a big part of my adolescent. And so I think that that's another reason. I think a lot of my other female friends, they learned to validate themselves through other ways, like more healthier ways, because they had, a dad there that helped them navigate that. I didn't. And so again, we go back to that point, and for me, it's just like I also want to make sure that men are choosing me, or that a man is choosing me because he sees worth in me as a potential partner or a mother, or what I bring to the table with for my intelligence, or how I could challenge him, as opposed to just being like, well, dang, she's a tall glass of water and she's, great in bed. Like, I don't want to be valued that way anymore. And I was actually on a trip recently. I went to Nashville with one of my best friends, and I was telling her, we were there and we were going out with like a big group of people, and all of the guys that kept coming up to me, it was like, "Hey, like my friend thinks you're really hot. He's trying to talk to you," or like, "You look really good." And I sat there and I was just so disgusted. I was like having a great time, but I was just like, I'm just at a point in my life where like, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, like if I was in college and like guys were saying that to me, I'd be like, "Oh my
Really?
gosh, yeah, like he thinks I'm so hot, like he wants me." But I'm just at a point in my life now where I'm like, I don't want you to want me for that. Like, yeah, that's great. I obviously want someone to be attracted to me if I like them and we're hanging out, and I want them to be sexually attracted to me, physically attracted to me, but I want them to be emotionally attracted to me. I want them to like, want to know who I am outside of what we're doing in bed. That is like so important to me.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm currently navigating that, and it's been not only, like, I think it's been healing for me, it's been therapeutic, but it's also been very eye-opening in, wow, like, I thought I liked this person in at the beginning, but now I realize, like, I actually like this person, you know? So it's cool. It's been a really cool journey for me, but what I would say for, someone else who's single and maybe they don't have the desire to necessarily date or be connected with anyone emotionally, because there's plenty of people who don't want that. They don't want an emotional connection. They don't want to be challenged by someone. They do just purely want a physical connection with someone. And I think it's just all about,
But I also think that real quick, that physical connection can still be, it's not just black and white, like, oh, I'm just using for sex. There's still a level of like where both humans are getting something out of it.
well,
And
you
it, and
can
it's and
connect
it's done in a healthy
emotionally.
way,
Yeah,
for
you can
sure.
connect
In an emotional
emotionally
way.
through physical
Exactly.
connection. Yeah, it can be done in a really healthy way. But I think it's about being honest and upfront about that, because if you meet someone and a guy thinks that you want a relationship with him, or that you're in a capacity where you want to build and start learning about someone and growing with them, and that's not what you want, then that's where you leave space and room for people to get their feelings hurt and
Yep.
get their hearts broken, right? And so I think that a lot of people are scared to announce that maybe that is just what they're looking for. It's a very common thing. Like, a lot of my friends are just looking purely to physically connect with someone, again, not black and white, and have a good time with somebody, maybe hang out, but they're not looking to deeply connect with them. They're not looking for a relationship. And I think it all comes down to being very honest about what you want with that person. And then also making sure you're creating really healthy boundaries. Like, I would definitely want to come over and be able to hang out with you, and, like, if that's part of the relationship we've established. But, like, maybe a boundary could be, don't ask me about my family, or don't ask me to stay the night, or, I love coming over and chilling with you and we do this and we do that, but I don't want you to ask me to go on dates, or I don't want you to, like, post photos of me, or tell, whatever. Like, it can be whatever boundaries you create for you and that person, but it all comes down to honesty and just being able to,
Communication.
like, communicate. Communication is the root of everything, whether you're wanting to establish a relationship with someone or you're not wanting to establish a relationship with someone.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there again. I think the sum up what you just said too, like the dating fearlessly thing came up for me, and being able to communicate what you want right now. So like what I mean by right now is like separating an expectation of where this could go or not go. And or in right now based off like what a past relationship looked like. So it's like, what is my body craving? What is my desires right now? What are the needs that need to be met that are gonna make me not whole, because we're already whole, but just add to my life, and getting really clear on what those are. And again, like there's just so many people that, I mean, this is no judgment, that go into a relationship just broken, and they don't know what those things are. And there's no judgment there, but it to inspire anyone is to go and figure out what those things are for yourself before you go into a relationship, because just the chance of being hurt, the chance of it not working out are only going to increase, and that's going to just go down another tunnel that we just don't want to go down. I think, I timing and place is so interesting. Life is interesting. Dating is interesting. The landscape of today, there's a lot of people who are lonely, a lot of people who are just unhappy. I can even put myself in some of those as I'm exploring and dating and putting myself out there. Emotions like that come up. And I think it's very interesting as far as like, I think men naturally think a little bit different. And when it comes to dating, and obviously, like there's, as we mentioned, the safety and security, men traditionally want to procreate their name, but like now that's less of a thing. So why does a man want a relationship? And that's like, those are things that I'm learning and understanding within myself in the new landscape, because yes, potentially I want kids, but that's not something that I'm thinking about currently. So it's like, what do I want currently? And what is going to make me, what is going to add to my life? And I want to not focus on me. I want to dive into just, I want to get your perspective on this for the men that potentially might listen to this. I have been reading a book called Sex at Dawn. I think I referenced that to you. And they did a study that, I don't remember the specific study, but they were on a college campus, and they had women do this with men, then men do this with women, where they would just run up and say, "Hey, let's go hook up." And obviously, more men said yes than women. But what that study took is, oh, women are less interested in sex than men, and that's not necessarily true. Where I'm sitting, what I'm understanding is there's a level of, for lack of a better word, foreplay that I think women need in terms of it. I think you call it emotional investment, financial investment, physical investment, spiritual investment. I think that's really the foreplay per se that allow women to feel more safe in those scenarios. And the reason I want to bring this up and not just talk about sex is more from the approach that a man is taking when it comes to approaching a woman. Because me, what I've been doing recently is I've been super direct. I shared that with you. I've been like, really, where this is where I'm at. Even though I'm not completely sure on what I want, I still am expressing what the thoughts in my head that are coming up without fear of what that person is going to say. And I've been speaking with other men to like, and there's always, everyone's got different viewpoints, different approaches. I don't like calling it a game. I think it's just really just being, as you said, honest and trustworthy. I don't think it's a game. There's timing in place. Some people want this, some people don't want this. And as long as you're unattached to what the worth that they're putting on you, if they say no, then there's no harm done. But I'm curious in terms of approach, like what are your thought process on, because I use the sex context and the research as like that was a very direct approach, right? That's straight to the point. Like, hey, let's go let's go behind closed doors. But I think in terms of just dating in general, or like whether it's asking a girl on a date, like what is a what what do you need from a man to like feel like, hey, I really like this approach. I really like how you handled this. I really like how you showed up. Like, of course. Like, I may not even be physically attracted to you, but like, damn, that was hot what you just did. Like,
Yeah. And you're asking from like, let's say that I was like a female who like if a guy is listening and he wants to approach a girl that he wants to
exactly.
be sexually like
Well, no, not just from a not just from the sexual context. I'm just saying in general, approaching a woman that he is interested in, like being super direct, like instead of like, hey, let's go on a date, and I'll be like, the direct person's like, hey, no, this is where I'm at in life. This is exactly what I want. Exit like every single list of expectations
yeah.
versus like letting it build up a little bit and then you can drop the bomb.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm a big believer, and I think this goes both directions. Like, if you're gonna approach someone because you have some interest in them, you have to ask yourself, why are you interested in them, though? Are you interested in them because they're beautiful, or are you interested in them because you see that, maybe they do the same sport as you, or they're an athlete and you're attracted to that? Like, be mindful of that. And I like to approach situations from like a mutual interest or letting them know that you see and you acknowledge like who they are and like what they're into. I think that's one of the most attractive things. So like if a guy was going to like, slide into my DMs and be like, "Hey, like I want to hang out with you or whatever." Like something that would catch my attention is like, "Hey, like I noticed that, you work out a lot, or I see you at this place. Like would you want to like get a workout together, or I noticed you're like really conscious of this. Like I noticed you talk about this a lot. Like would you want to grab dinner with me at this spot? It is okay, like so this is everyone like all my friends like to joke. Well, you're like this too. Very like health conscious when it comes to food, like what I put in my body. I like to like support local. I love like grass fed. I love organic. I love, just like local good quality food. Like that's something I'm really passionate about. One day, fingers crossed, I'll start my own little farm. But if someone was to message me and be like, like I noticed I saw you talking about this, seems like it's really important to you. There's this new restaurant that opened up on the east side and everything they serve is like from a local farm and like I thought you might enjoy it. Would you want to like go there and like grab food and a drink with me?
Mhm.
Something like that. It just goes the extra mile to show that you're paying attention to this person that you're saying you want to spend time with. Because again, I work in an industry where there's so many physically attractive people. And so like if someone just wants to hang out with me based off attraction, like that turns me off. And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just that's not how I'd want to be approached because I'm like, well, yeah, but like, is that all that you see is just the physical attraction? If it is, that's totally okay. But I would personally, if I was going to spend time with someone, I would want to see that they looked past just, my selfie or my face and that they actually took some time to figure out what
They
I
actually saw
enjoy.
me.
Yeah, they actually saw me and they saw that, I was into that. That's how I would approach it.
Cool. I did that recently, so I'm doing something right.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Just pay attention to the person that you like.
Yeah.
Like if you're attracted to someone, just pay attention to them. Pay attention to them for a couple weeks, few days, see
Well,
what they're into.
I guess okay, that just opened up another question. I think, and this gets back to the love routine. Yesterday was a beautiful day. I was around a lot of love. I got a lot of love for a lot of people, and it got towards the end of the day, and I was sad out of nowhere. I felt empty inside. I felt lonely. I talked to Yash for a long time about this morning, and it's it's interesting because I think for a long time I suppressed that need to be with someone, to be intimate with someone, to be around someone consistently that I could share that really intimate space with. That now that I'm having those conversations more, and not that I have been like turned down in the way like, nah, dude, you're ugly. Like I have nothing to do with you. It's more from it's like, hey, you want something different than I want right now. But what that is, my mind, my self-worth is like, "Oh, no, you like, is it's saying something else." So, in my journey of loving myself and rewiring that story, there's still moments of what I mentioned to you, being human, and those things creep in. And I think this past weekend, or yesterday, I should say, like, that came in, and it was an opportunity for myself to just like, "Okay, how can I," and this is where I want to bring up Whitney Houston. I ended up watching the movie, and then her first song to fame that got her famous, the first one that got her, like, listened to get her opportunity was, like, "Love is the greatest power, and the greatest love is the love with yourself." I was just like, moments like that where it's a random movie that I decided to watch, and it was a reminder that served as a reminder, "All right, bro, like, you're gonna be okay. You got a lot of people in your life that's gonna be that support you in all these different things, and your time is coming." The reason I bring that up is because there's a level of scarcity mindset with dating that I've experienced where I have reached out for someone and ignored the red flags as we were talking about earlier. And because I was operating from this lonely and scarcity minded space, that I was like, I was grabbing for whatever that and hoping that something would get created. And the fact that it didn't get created is maybe not even less of the fact that that woman wasn't interested, but she could also feel that I probably wasn't interested and I was just reaching.
Yeah.
So I think it's, being human is an amazing thing, but there's always the level of just navigating emotions. And I think the biggest thing that I am learning from my experience, and I feel like you can, as you shed to and being confident, is just always value you first, and everything will work out. And there is the timing and place, and like that person will come into your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a journey, and again, it's a humbling experience, but not everybody is going to want you. Not everybody is going to like you or see you in the light that your friends, family, past like lovers do. And that's okay. You're not meant to be for everybody. You're not
We
meant to
also we
be for
also
this
relate on
person.
that 'cause our ego at some capacity, we want to be liked by everyone. That's what we experience, but the fact that we've evolved,
Yeah.
we can understand that that's not a reality.
Yeah, 1,000%. Like you're not for everybody. And that's a beautiful thing. I don't want to be for
Yeah.
everybody. I want to be, for a few people. I want to be for my friends, I want to be for my family, and whoever I end up with, like, I want to be that person that they chose. And that's what I'm saying too. Like, although you're not for everybody, there could be a few people that you could be for, right? And it's gonna end up ultimately coming down to like who's the best timing with, who's the best situation, what serves you most in your life at that point in time. And I think that's what makes it. I always say this, like one of my biggest turnoff is to be desired by a man who desires everyone.
Mm,
Like I want to be desired by someone and liked by someone and wanted by someone who only has eyes for me. That's like the most archaic mindset, obviously. We're all human. I'm not naive to believe that, even one day when I'm married, that my husband won't be like, dang, like, that girl's hot though. Like, it's just life, it's just normal. People are attracted to people. But I want to know that someone chose me and was attracted to me because of my unique qualities. Some could be physical, some could be emotional, some could be mental, whatever it may be. But yeah, I think that's what it comes down, and I think that's why some girls do get, turned off by guys, especially if it's, like, on dating apps or if it's someone that they've heard, like, in the community, like, "Dang, he's trying to hang out with everybody." It's not a compliment. They could be the hottest person in the world, but to have someone reach out to you and just be like, "Hey," like, whatever, use whatever line they're gonna use, you're like, "How many other girls have you used that on, though?" I do
mm.
not wanna be desired by someone who desires everyone. Um,
No, it's what I've noticed with myself, my journey. I want to be friends. I care about a lot of people, and I'm friends with a lot of beautiful women. And I think that perception at time can, because I remember my college days, like, oh, this guy's a player, even though I wasn't.
yeah.
But it creates this perception of that. I think the people that were around now, that's less of I don't want to say it's less of a problem. But that is an interesting thing that I was just sitting with is like, I used to get this rap as this person, even though that was not me. It's because I want to be friends
With everybody.
yeah, I like my friends. And I've, one of my clients, who's a male, he's like, yeah, I have 0 women friends. I'm just like, that sounds sad. Like, he's like, I just don't want it. There's just no chance. I'm like, that to me sounds like a fear within yourself that you might make a bad choice. I am not gonna do that. Like, even though that desire might be there, but as you said that earlier too, like, this is a healthy relationship, even with your husband in the future, like, "Oh, yeah, that person's hot." Like, that's fun. Like, "Hey, but
Yeah, like
maybe invite him over." I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
No, I just like I said, I'm not naive to believe that, that there's someone else that could catch my potential partner's eye. No, no doubt. That there's probably gonna be multiple people who do. But is that person still showing up every day and choosing me because they think that I'm, worth the commitment? That's what it comes down to. But I like that reeling it back to that, you made a really good point, and that's something else that I've found that's really important when it comes to dating is being very honest about, I know that I have a lot of great guy friends, and there could be people that are turned off by that. They could be really turned off by that, and I wonder, does that stem from an insecurity? Have you been cheated on by a woman who cheated on you with one of her guy
Exactly.
friends? Do you have just like, again, general insecurities and you don't want your woman around other men? For me, my guy friends all know that we're just guy friends. They would never even attempt to cross a boundary, nor would I, because that's all that it is a deep friendship. And I want my partner to have female friendships and I want to be able to have male friendships. I think that's extremely healthy and like, that's a lot of the things that I know about men I've learned from my guy friends. Like I'll go to them for situations and just be like one of my best friends, Jacob, I call him literally probably 3, 4 times a day. It's almost probably an unhealthy friendship, but I'll call him with situations and be like, yeah, so like so and so said this, or like, what do you think this means? Is there an underlying message? And he's like, no, you're overthinking it. And he'll give me a guy's perspective, and I think that's super healthy. And like I'm a big gift giver, like that's one of my love languages. And so I'll go to him and be like, what would be a gift that like a guy would love to receive? Or in a situation like that. And he learns a lot from me too about like how females think and how they, just like this conversation right now.
Yep.
It's such a healthy friendship that we have, and you're able to call me and be like, hey, like, how would this come across to you, or how would you perceive this? I think it also tells you a lot about your partner. Like you said, if I meet a guy and he's like, I don't follow any girls online, I don't talk to any girls, I have zero female friendships. I'm not thinking like, oh my gosh, you're so romantic. Like you only want to be around me. Like I'm the only female you like
What are
care
you
to be around.
hiding?
No, my thought process is like, why can't you handle yourself around women? I
Yeah.
want to be with a man who is be able to be around like beautiful women and have beautiful friends. And he's like, I don't have to worry about anything happening because he's committed to me. So
Yeah.
it's, yeah, he can control himself,
Well, it plays into a narrative a friend of mine said once, and I completely disagree with it. And he said it's hard to be a good person, and I completely agree. I understand that there's like the angel, the demon, the bad, the good, like that. Those different desires on each side are always there, but we have that choice to decide which one. Just because a lot of people choose this other route that may be more comfortable, safe, and easy, and inherently selfish and not serving the other people in the world around them doesn't mean that it's harder to pick the right one when you're coming from a heart-centered place.
Yeah. Temptation and desire will always be there and they always have been. And I would argue that yeah, like our grandparents, our parents, they had it much easier in the sense that they didn't have social media and they have things like that, but I also think that's an excuse. I definitely
Yep.
agree with you. There is way more temptation. We have like quick instant availability to anyone we want on the internet, but I actually kind of like it and people are always like why, like, does it make you nervous that like you'll like someone and then they'll like, I'm like, no, I use it as not, I don't want to say a test, but if I have a significant other and he can't control himself from sliding into girls' DMs or following tons of girls or liking tons of girls' photos, it's like, cool, like nothing against you, just probably not the person for me. I don't find that attractive, and that's something that I find actually highly unattractive. So, like, yes, we definitely have more temptation and desire, but you still get to wake up every day and make the decisions that you want to make. Just because there's more there, like, you could argue that we have more easy access to like drugs and alcohol nowadays. That doesn't mean that I'm going to start doing more drugs because I have easier access to them, Like I yeah, uh,
There's vices everywhere.
there's vices everywhere.
We're
Yeah, you can
surrounded
always
by
find an
them.
easier like an outlet to something. So, yeah, I don't think it's hard to be a good person because of temptation desire. I think it's hard to be a good person if you don't know what a good person looks like to you and what you want to like shape your life around and what
Or you're
you're
hiding from something or running away from something, I should say.
yeah, know your ideals, know your values, know your worth, know the characteristics that you want to give as a person, but also that you want to receive from a potential partner. And I think that'll help.
Absolutely. I would love to continue and continue and continue this conversation, but I believe we need to wrap up. But I'm gonna hit you with 10 rapid fire questions. Don't overthink it.
Okay.
Just
Probably
spit it
gonna
out.
overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Just spit it out. All right, number one, we have what's your favorite way to practice self-love?
Fitness.
What's your biggest dating deal breaker?
Um,
Spit it out.
too much control.
Too much control. We don't want that control. What's your go-to first date activity?
Ooh, something adventurous, hiking, swimming, exploring.
Love it. What's the most important thing you've learned about yourself through dating?
my worth. My
Your
worth.
worth. Love it. If you could date any celebrity, who would it be and why?
I'm probably gonna go like the athlete route.
Okay.
I know everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh. I'm probably gonna go Travis Kelsey.
Travis Kelce.
He's got big boy
Yeah, we get
energy.
it. We
We
get
love the
it.
sports.
Kind of farm boy energy though too. Yeah.
Hey, grass-fed farm,
Let's
regenerative.
go. Get her done. What's your biggest turn on in a partner?
Self-confident.
Self-confidence. Okay. What's your opinion on public displays of affection?
Okay, I know this is supposed to be really rapid fire answer. I'm gonna give just like a little bit more than a rapid fire answer.
Okay.
I didn't grow up with much affection that I saw through, again, didn't have healthy relationships to mirror. So I never thought that affection mattered to me, public displays of affection. Now, I don't want to be out just like groping and like making out with someone in public, but public displays of affection and just affection in general, I realize is one of my number one love languages. So I admire it. I like it. It's important to me.
Love it. What's your worst dating advice you ever received?
Just to go out with anyone who asks because it's like a free dinner. I was like, that is not the case. No.
What's the best dating advice that you would give someone else?
Be yourself because who you are will come out eventually, and you don't want to put up a front that you can't uphold.
Okay. This one might be a little longer. Paint the picture of the most romantic experience for you. We got bubble bath. We got, what is it?
I think it would be some form of travel, maybe a road trip. I love a good road trip. I think road tripping with someone, great snacks in the car, and having deep conversation like this, just like getting to know that person and like why they are the way they are.
Okay. Okay. I didn't see you going that route, but I love
Oh,
it.
so what do you think I was gonna say?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what women want. That's what I'm asking you.
I like deep connection. I don't like surface level. Not
No,
here for
I love
surface
it.
level. Life's
I
too
love it.
short.
I mean, I didn't know if you're like, I want my it's like goddess energy. Like I want my feet rubbed while I'm in a bubble bath. Like,
I mean,
know
if
what
you
I'm
want to
saying?
throw in like a foot massage once we make it, to the Airbnb for sure. But I love like a good something travel, road trip. Like that's one of my big love languages, seeing the world together.
Love it. Last thing that I feel when we have conversations around things, especially deep conversations, that a person feels a little inspired, motivated, whatever the case. And I this came to mind just now. I would like for you just to one message of motivation based off all the things we've said today. What is like we talk about takeaways and maybe people glean some takeaways in different parts. What would be the biggest takeaway that you would want from this conversation that we had today?
Yeah, this is actually something that I've told some friends recently who are going through some hard times. For me it's God, right? But for whoever you want to tell yourself, spiritually higher power, God gave us the ability to feel all emotions, not just happiness, not just joy, not just, eagerness. He gave us the ability to feel pain and sorrow and frustration and anger. So when you're having a bad day, a bad moment, a rough night, just remember that it's human to have those. It's normal. It is completely normal to feel sad or to feel in pain, to feel angry. From that, what I would do is I would sit there and ask you to ask yourself, why do I feel this way though? Is it that I made myself feel this way because I didn't handle a situation correctly? Did someone else make me feel this way because I allowed them to? And to take a lesson from it, grow from those situations, but not to get down on yourself if you have a bad day or a couple bad days. You're given the ability to feel all of those emotions, not just the good ones.
Feel them all.
Feel
Let
them
it
all.
flow.
Yes.
Love it. Well, let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
This is fun, right?
So much fun. I
Yeah.
don't know how much time has surpassed, but it's been
That's when you
time
know
to
it's
go
good. That's when you know it's good.
Hey, just keep going. Hang out here all night.
Yeah, we're
Someone
clocking
bring us some
out.
snacks.
Yeah, where's the snacks at? We can keep this conversation going. Maybe we just go live and like we're taking this is a radio show. This is the radio room.
Yeah. Who's calling in? Where are you from?
Yeah,
Escalade.
yeah, we don't have a closing for this thing. We're just gonna drop it like it's hot. Deuces.
Blessed
Stay
with
blessed.
pray. Bye, guys.